Welcome back to another episode of The Real Deal. Sorry I haven't been on much lately. I've been super busy with work and many other activities I got going on. But I'm going to touch base on a little something that I'm not too fond of course, and I hope you're not. But it's hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is one of my biggest pet peeves. I don't like hypocrites. I don't like people to pretend they're something they're not, and then they be phony about it. I don't like people that say one thing and do another. It bothers me a lot, and it always has, because I've grown up in a world full of hypocrisy. I've seen the government at its highest levels tell you they're going to do this, they're going to do that, but then they don't. You see these people, they go in there and they say, vote for me and I'll give you free college, I'll give you this, I'll give you that. Remember Obama said he was going to give everybody free Wi-Fi. He didn't, but people voted. And then he's got good Wi-Fi. We pay for it. He's getting all his money from us. These people say one thing and do another. And we have a lot of problems in our society with hypocrisy, mainly at the religious aspects. Not just the political aspects, but today I'm going to talk about the religious aspects of it. There are a lot of people in this world that have different faiths. There's thousands of different religions. There's over 20,000 different gods. The Hindus have many, many gods. I've learned about them from little people I know, and they tell me these things, and it's really interesting and it's cool. And I might not agree or believe the way they do, but they have the right to believe what they want, and that's awesome. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with anybody's religious beliefs or lack of. I have no problem with that at all. But you need to respect others. And that's where the hypocrisy comes in, because many of these people don't. They talk about, I'm a good Christian. Really? Well, all you do is gossip about people. You do things wrong. You backstab. You criticize everybody else. How is that a good Christian? If I'm looking for a religion and I'm looking at you, I'll be like, well, Christianity's not for me. Not all of it, but I see a lot, and not everybody's that way, but there are quite a few. They are very negative. A friend of mine told me the other day, so let me just start by saying the four largest religions in the world now, the world's about 8.5 billion people. Christianity has about 2 billion people. That's the largest. Islam is right behind them with 1.9 billion people. Hinduism has 1.1 billion people, a little more than that, probably about 1.2 now. And Buddhism has about 500 million people. That's a lot. When you think about it, that's four religions right there. Four religions have basically more than half of the world's population believing in them. Oh, and also about 1.5 billion people basically have no religion. It's basically atheism, agnostic, or no religious values whatsoever. That's okay. My friend comes up the other day and he says, his religion's the best. He's a Christian. And I'm like, okay, why do you say that? And he's like, well, we're the largest in the world. And we're the oldest, which they're not. But he doesn't really know a lot of things like he thinks he does. But I said, okay, you're the largest. Islam is right behind you. What happens when they pass you? Well, we'll still be the best. Why? Well, because we're Christians. We're better than everybody else. Yucky answer. Didn't like that at all. And most people have never, and I'll say this, I'll be honest, most Christians I know have never even read the Bible. Or the Bible they read will be the New International Version, which came out about 10 years ago. And I don't know if you guys know much about Christianity, but as far as what they did is they took the Old Testament, the Jewish books, put them onto their New Testament, and they tried to claim them. And they've rewritten them, and that's not right, because it says in the Jewish books, you are not allowed to change the words of the Creator. That is a heavy-duty, forbidden thing to do. But so many people do it. Why? They don't care because most people won't research it. And they do that to fulfill their agendas. Now, I get a lot of people out there, and I understand where they're coming from, but you don't think that you're mightier than the other. And most people feel their religion is the only way. Now, in Christianity, we don't even know how many denominations there are. There are so many different denominations. There's the Methodist, there's the Protestant, the Lutheran, the Catholics. Now, the Catholics have been around a lot longer than most of the others. That's where the others... because they didn't want to be a part of that anymore. That's where your Lutherans came in when Martin Luther took off from that, and then they branched off from there. And the Protestants were the ones, they basically started their own faith away from the Catholics because they were protesting the Catholics. And there are many different things these religions teach and preach that aren't even in the Bible. They're not in the Old Testament. They're not in the so-called New Testament. And they're not in the Jewish books. They're not even in Roman books. It's pretty embarrassing when you think about it because people will believe in this. And that's okay. You can believe what you want. But don't criticize others. So recently in Grand Blanc, Michigan, this guy drove his truck into a Latter-day Saints sanctuary, into their church, their temple, and he opened fire on people, and he set it on fire. And that was horrible. That was a horrible event. People died, people suffered, and my first thought was, these poor people. This is horrible. You know? I mean, I felt so bad for them. My first thought was it was an attack on their religion because they get that a lot. And I felt really bad for them. And compassion, sympathy, empathy, those are the values that we're supposed to have. And I felt so bad because what if it had happened to my people? And the first thing I thought of after that was the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh when that guy opened fire and killed all those people over there. And here's the deal with Tree of Life Synagogue. That's a school. I was there a week before the shooting happened. Little kids were out playing, having fun. It's in Squirrel Hill, the Jewish neighborhood. Very nice neighborhood. Lots of culture there. They didn't deserve that. They didn't deserve that. Neither did the Latter-day Saints. And I know a lot of people call them Mormons, and the media was calling them Mormons, but they don't like to be called that anymore. And this friend of mine was like, oh, those poor people. I pray for our Christian brothers and sisters. And I thought to myself, about a week ago, you just called them a cult. And she did. She was like, they're a cult. They're not real Christians. They don't really follow the Bible. They don't really follow this. They have their own book. I mean, I hear this all the time. And I'm like, okay, I might not agree with their beliefs and everything, but they're good people. And they have the right to believe what they want. And why are you criticizing them for that? If they're happy and they're not hurting anybody, what happened to live and let live? I might not, they're always nice to me. I've traveled this whole country. Every time I've been into Utah, the Latter-day Saints, people were nice and friendly. They were sweet, kind-hearted. Matter of fact, I'll tell you, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this story. I've been there several times, but one time I was traveling on the Greyhound, and I stopped in the bus station, and I've been to all these different Greyhound bus stations, and there's some rough things going on. I mean, people are trying to sell you drugs and crack in there and stuff. You got people soliciting prostitution, begging for money in a bus terminal, man, in the big cities. I get off, and I'm tired, and I walk out, and I see all these signs. And this was back in the day before cell phones. And I'm looking around, and it's like, for a nice hot meal, call us, And I was like, if you need to shower or clean up for the night, please call us. Don't hesitate. And they're like everywhere. There was signs all over the bus terminal like this with their phone numbers or their addresses. It's like, take a taxi here because we didn't have Uber back then. And I'm sitting there looking at it. It's like, what's up with that? Never seen anything like that in my life. And I've been to tons of big cities. Oh, man. I've been all over this country. I've been to almost every state. And like I said, Utah, I never had a problem with the Latter-day Saints. They're always nice and friendly. And even if they know you don't agree with them and believe in the way they do, they don't care. They don't sit there. They're like, oh, that's cool, brother. God bless you. Have a great day. Jesus loves you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And so I went and asked this guy, I said, hey, what's up with all these signs, man? There were people saying, save money on a hotel. Come spend the night with us. And he goes, oh, those are the Latter-day Saints. And he told me, he was specific. He said, I'm not one. He's like, but they're good people. And I was like, oh, I know, man. But I was like, what's up with that? And he goes, they're just doing God's will. They're doing what they believe is the right thing to do. And I'm like, that is so cool, man. And then I asked him, I said, well, do they try to preach to you, convert you, or anything like that? He goes, no. He's like, they might sit down for a prayer with you, and they might read from, the book for you or something, because that's what they do. He said, but they're just doing what God wants them to do, and that's to be good people. And I'm like, I was so amazed at that, because it's good to see that that's still out there. Yet people call them a cult. And they say, well, they've only been around for 220 years. Joseph Smith wrote that book, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. But who wrote your book? How long's your book been around? How long has this been around? You took a book that wasn't even yours and misinterpreted it to try to make it to fulfill your book. How are you going to be a hypocrite like that and criticize someone else's faith? I dated a girl who was a Jehovah's Witness for a while. It didn't work out. She had some attitudes and issues because of people's faiths. And she would not accept others that didn't think the way she did. And I can't deal with that. I don't like people that are prejudiced. I don't like bigoted people. You have the right to think the way you want to, but I don't have to be in your world. So it didn't work out. And she headed out good. Good luck to her, No regards, no regrets. You know what I'm saying, man? I was like, wow, she's mean. Because she was. She would criticize all these people's faiths and call them a cult and say they don't follow her religion, so you're wrong. You're going to hell. And that's a big thing a lot of Christians will say. They'll say, they'll tell people who aren't Christians, you're going to hell. Well, that's not very nice. Wouldn't you say something like, I'm going to pray for you, brother. I might not agree with you, but I love you, brother. Let's pray for you. Isn't that what their book says? I get a little tired of the hypocrisy of many Christians, many different religions out there. It's very sad. I believe in live and let live, and let's all get along. You don't have to think like me. I don't want everybody to be a puppet. I don't want us to all think alike. I get people telling me, America's a Christian nation. We were founded on Christianity. No, we weren't. Yes, there is a lot of talk of providence in the Declaration and the Constitution and stuff like that. But if we were founded on a Christian nation, is slavery a Christian value? Should we allow slavery? Many of the founding fathers had lots and lots of slaves. And some of them, when they went in there and said all men are created equal, some of these guys went and said, you know what? I freed all my slaves. I give them money. I gave them a home because that's what we're supposed to do. He says, there's no way I can say that we're equal and have a slave. How can I do that? That is not right. But some of your big founding fathers, George Washington, Tommy Jefferson, just saying, they had a ton of slaves. Jefferson had a city of slaves. And he had relations with his slaves. It's been proven through DNA evidence. Although the family denies it, DNA is pretty good. I like Monticello. When you go out there, or is it Monticello? I call it cello. Who cares? When you go out there, they try to downplay it. And they don't talk about the slaves' quarters. They talk about their huts, their homes. No, they fixed them up, but these were slave quarters. These guys did forced labor for him while he made tons of money off of them. He never freed them. And here's the thing, too. A lot of these slave owners would have the girls on the inside. And if you didn't treat them the way they wanted to, if you know what I mean, give them what they want, you were out there picking cotton or working hard. So they pretty much would have to succumb and do what they said. Now, do you think America was founded on a Christian nation? Are those Christian values?
This country steals. This country lies. This country stole the land. The founding fathers and those people stole the land from the natives, and they killed them, and they raped their women. I mean, come on, man. So don't tell me that this was founded on a Christian value. This United States was not founded on Christian values. Oh, and here's something else. Christians came here in the early 1600s, late 1500s. Jews came here in the early 1600s too. So was this a Jewish nation? No. They came here because they were getting persecuted, and they said, hey, maybe they'll treat us good there. We all know the end game there, right? We see what's going on today, And it's funny because Christians, some of them, not all, when I say Christians, I'm not relating to all of them, but some of them are those bigoted, hypocritical people you'll see on the planet. And it's sad because they don't live up to what their book preaches. They don't preach what their book preaches. They don't live up to the values. They're phonies. And if they really cared about their Jesus, they would realize he was Jewish. He practiced all the laws of Judaism. He followed all the rules. He was raised a Jew. He celebrated Hanukkah. He celebrated Sukkot. He celebrated all the Jewish holidays. He kept Yom Kippur. He kept Passover. I mean, if you're a Christian, and let me tell you something, he came out here and said on the Sermon on the Mount, I have not come to do away with my Father's laws. I've come to uphold them. So, therefore, if you're a Christian, you need to follow his laws and his values and do what he did. Practice what you preach, people. Keep it real. Peace.